My specialism is intellectual property law, and I spent most of my career working for big multinational corporations. And definitely one of the reasons I became a judge was to try and help the smaller businesses and individuals. And I did that because when I started, I was a circuit judge, and then I became a High Court judge a few years later. And that was definitely, this idea of giving something back was a critical reason why I took the step that I did.
I know there is a perception that only particular kinds of people from specific backgrounds can successfully apply for the High Court bench. There are two things I want to say about that. The first is that irrespective of your background, your achievements in your legal professional life are what count. And if you can demonstrate in the ways that you're required to that you have reached a high standard of professional work, that you have a fine legal mind, resilience, the type of personality that's going to thrive on the High Court bench, then you should apply. And the second thing I want to say is this: when you arrive here, as I did, from a perhaps less usual background, you will be surprised to find that there are people here on the High Court bench who were the first to go to university in their families, or like me, went to a state comprehensive school and a non-Oxbridge university. But as I say, the most important feature is what you've been able to achieve in your professional life from when you became a lawyer. That's the important thing, not your background. So don't be put off from applying just because you think your background is different. It really doesn't matter. If you have shown excellence in the work you've been doing, whatever kind of law, whether it's a solicitor or a barrister or an academic, then go ahead, apply.
I don't think that I could say that I always wanted to be a judge. It was what I always imagined would happen. But I got to about 45, 46, and I thought to myself, well, what do I want to do with the rest of my working life? About halfway through my working career. And I realised that I didn't want to be in private practice at the bar for the rest of my working life. And I was already appointed a recorder, so I was sitting part-time. I loved that. And I thought I'd put my hat in the ring and apply to be a High Court judge. Unfortunately, I was successful. There are very few jobs that I can think of that you can literally switch occupation almost without any particular retraining. Obviously, you have to have relevant experience. But I think the main attraction for me, looking at it in prospect, was variety. And I can honestly say that the sheer variety, the stimulation of sitting on the High Court bench is second to none. I am currently sitting in a number of jurisdictions in the Queen's Bench Division, which is not unusual, and increasingly High Court judges are sitting more flexibly across the jurisdictions.
My first judicial appointment was as a Crown Court or Criminal Court recorder. Although I had been a family law specialist at the bar, I enjoyed the challenge of becoming a Crown Court recorder. And I did that for a number of years before I acquired a family law ticket. As a recorder, I acquired a taste for judicial life, and after a number of years decided I would take the plunge and apply for the High Court bench. It's a rare, perhaps a unique opportunity to have a significant change of career after a number of years at the bar. I've been at the bar for nearly 30 years, but to practice in a professional way, in a field with which I was entirely familiar. I have thoroughly enjoyed that change of career. It has delivered for me all that I hoped it would.
Having made the decision to make an application for a full-time appointment, it's often helpful to get a good critical friend who knows your work well. Because even though the system and the application process is transparent and fair, they can really only make decisions on the information that you give them.
One of the things I'd enjoyed about a career at the bar had been the variety of work. But as I got more senior, I became more specialised and the scope of the work became narrower. The attraction of the bench was that I thought, and it's proved to be correct, that the variety of work would be enormous.